Okay. Welcome to the Modern Frequency interview.
Mm.
Um, my name is Robert Frezza. How are you today?
I'm great. Just catching up on some work here at the studio, and it's almost spring in the Catskills, which is a relief.
So that's where you are. That's where you're based right now, is in the Catskills.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
that's
cool. You got started in production and engineering. What made you decide to, no pun intended, take the plunge into singer-songwriting direction?
well, I actually kind of got into production and engineering after I learned music. I kind of wanted to learn to record myself so that I could, get better at recording my own music and songs, and then I started doing it for other people once I learned how. But yeah, I studied jazz. I was a jazz saxophonist for a long time, but my parents are musicians, and there were always guitars kicking around the house, and we always listened to the Beatles. So I guess I've always had I don't know, it's kind of a tradition in the household, and then I got into it in my 20s.
Talking about the Beatles, your new album, The Plunge, or pl is it just called Plunge?
Plunge, yeah. I
Okay,
like the
sorry, I
plunge though. That's nice.
thought
Cool.
it sounds very 60s-esque and like very Beatles-esque if you ask me. Was that the intention?
Yeah, it's a bit of a tribute and definitely uh kind of, circling back on what's in my musical DNA. Um, but just the way I structured the session was kind of the recording session for Plunge was kind of very much based around the way you see the Beatles working in the Get Back documentary, which is just like they're in a room, they're all playing together, they're not wearing headphones, they're not fussing with being isolated, they're just kind of doing this band in a room type of record, which I love, and I don't think it's necessarily a retro idea. I think it's a great way to make music across the board, whether, whether doesn't matter what kind of genre you're into.
For sure,
Um,
for sure. I know I agree with that. Totally agree with you. You wrote about family dynamics on this album. Why did you feel that the timing was right to sing about such heavy material about your parents?
yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, I'm in my 30s now, and I'm kind of looking back on my life and seeing into my future at the same time by kind of like using their lens, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, and it just felt like the time was right to kind of start getting into that stuff. And really, it's just another way of looking at myself.
Interesting. Very interesting perspective, I have to say.
Mhm.
Um, so 2016's Premium, and now we're at 2024's Plunge. How do you think your musicality has changed since you first started recording music?
Mm. Um, well, I've definitely like become a stronger singer, and I hope that that comes across on the new record. I just feel like playing shows and projecting on the stage has made my voice more of an instrument than it was in 2016.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm more conscious of my instrumentalism and in the way that I approach guitar or bass or whatever instrument I'm working with at the time. Yeah, I'm always trying to like hone my craft, whether it's like sharpening, keeping all the tools sharp, I guess. You know, um,
The
it's like a
music,
endless pursuit.
right, right. The music from Premium has a Western kind of theme to it. I don't know why. I feel like, I don't know,
Hmm.
do you feel that way or no?
There are some songs that you mean like kind of like country
Yeah,
vibe.
country-esque Western
Yeah.
music.
When I was I guess when I was writing some of those songs, I was really into Hank Williams.
Uh,
Um, and especially this song Cactus. I feel like it really kind of follows that tradition of songwriting.
right.
Um, yeah.
you were in good company when writing and recording this album. Adrian Lenker from Big Thief was with you.
Oh, she stopped by. Yeah, she's a good friend of mine, and she came by for the first couple days of the session to kind of hang, and
Did
she
she
did.
record with you or just stop by and visit or what?
She played a little guitar on one of the songs and hung out, and I worked with her band Big Thief here at the studio, and she's kind of just like family. So
God, they're amazing too, I have to say. Flying Rec Cloud Recordings is your first imprint. Do you have anyone signed to the label yet, just besides yourself, or when did you start
uh,
it?
I just started it, and I'm the experiment. And I would love to be able to put out records for artists who come here to work at the studio. Um, but I have to see how the experiment goes, and see how this record cycle feels, and if it works, I'll keep doing it, you know.
What made you decide to start a label?
I think I'm really interested in owning my catalog. And I think the old model of, the music industry and indie labels is kind of working less and less for artists like me, just because distribution is so accessible. And there are these companies like the one I'm working with is called 30 Tigers, and they do marketing and distribution, which is called label services. So they kind of are essentially doing what the label's doing, but I get to keep the ownership of my masters, which is important to me, because over the years, we don't make much, but it adds up slowly. And if I'm splitting it 50-50 with a label, like I'm doing with my first three records, it diminishes pretty quickly, like whatever I do make off that music. So yeah, I'm hoping that I don't know, that in the future it'll lead to more, financial security.
A lot of musicians are doing that now, or not just starting their own record label, but they're owning their masters
Yeah.
and re-recording their original stuff, and it's just nuts because no one trusts anyone anymore.
I know it's not even for me it's less of a trust issue and more because I do love the people I worked with on the labels that distributed my music early on, and I'm very thankful for them and their energies. But at this point in my career, because I'm four records in and I have a studio and I'm a little older now, it just makes a little more sense for me to kind of um, step out. But for new up and coming artists who need more resources and need the backup, I think a label can still be a really constructive thing.
Going back to the your new album, it's getting rave reviews, critical praise across the board.
Hmm.
Does that mean anything to you? Do you look into like reviews? Do you read reviews?
Sometimes it can be it's definitely important to me to be accepted by my peers and by critics. I mean, I guess it's everybody wants to do a good job at what they're doing, right? And in normal life, if I had a job and I worked at it for 10 years, I'd want a promotion every now and then or some kind of accolade to be proud of. So yeah, it's like it definitely has an effect when there's a positive review. It feels really good.
Cool.
But I
Uh,
try not to go too deep into it because it can quickly become an unhealthy thing.
well, yeah, sure. But I mean, negative and positive are both constructive feedback, if you will. I don't.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, the negative criticism is important in this day and age, I feel.
Your music and your songwriting has a lot of honesty in it. Do you think that's what's missing from music today? What do you think is missing from music today? Let's just put it that
Ooh.
way.
Uh
Because it seems the music seems very accessible, pop friendly here today, gone today. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? It's not very memorable. It's,
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of music today.
yeah,
Um, I feel like we're kind of inundated. And I'm sure if I were to say something was missing, I could pretty quickly go out and find it. Maybe there's some stuff missing from the mainstream that for my taste would be nice to see, but I think most importantly it's like the it's a different era for and music is changing and the way that people consume music is changing and more than I could say that anything's missing, I guess I would say on the receiving end, I wish I wish there was more depth in the way that we listen to music and the way that we experience music. And I wish it was a little less passive. I think there's like a culture of passive listening that is um is is kind of like that, I don't know, has become the norm. When you go into a coffee shop, music is everywhere. It's absolutely in every crevice of humanity and in our daily lives, but are we thinking about it and cherishing it? I'm not certain that we are. And as someone who like I love the long format. I love an LP. I love it. I love the record. I love holding it and reading the liner notes and reading about who played on it and who produced it and where it was made. And I feel like I'm missing that experience.
everyone really is nowadays.
Yeah.
It's not tangible anymore as it used to be.
But I feel like that can be, I don't know, at the same time, the vinyl market is really popping off.
Right.
And I think that a culture of listening can be cultivated, but it kind of has to start the top. I love when I go to England, you still have the BBC radio programming uh, very devoted to finding and supporting independent music and also keeping a really wonderful playlist of old and new for listeners and the listeners are really activated by it and people are really engaged with that format and you see this kind of like trickle down effect into the local markets of like active listening and I feel like that's big. It's nice to see it over there. I wish there was more of that over here.
I agree. Well put. What's next for you? Are you gonna go on tour or anything like that? Or
Yes, I'm leaving for tour next week.
oh wow. So is it gonna be
Yeah.
around the nation, the world? What's the deal?
It's the US and parts of Canada.
Okay, so is it gonna be all US or are you gonna be on the East Coast?
Yeah.
Coast?
East Coast, West Coast, some interior, Midwest, and then Southwest. It's a big loop.
Cool.
It's
Are you gonna
about,
come to New York at all or
yep, we're playing Music Hall Williamsburg on the 26th.
right. That'll be cool to see.
That's going to be a fun show. I love that venue. It's
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it there.